My brothers and sisters in Christ, a meditation on the multiplication of the loaves and what it means for us today. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs he was performing on the sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. The Jewish feast of Passover was near. When Jesus raised his eyes and saw that a large crowd was coming to him, he said to Philip, "Where can we buy enough food for them to eat?" He said this to test him, because he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 200 days' wages worth of food would not be enough for each of them to have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good are these for so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people recline." Now there was a great deal of grass in that place, so the men reclined, about 5,000 in number. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were reclining, and also as much of the fish as they wanted. When they had their fill, he said to his disciples, "Gather the fragments left over, so that nothing will be wasted." So they collected them and filled 12 wicker baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves that had been more than they could eat. When the people saw the sign he had done, they said, "This is truly the prophet, the one who is to come into the world." Since Jesus knew that they were going to come and carry him off to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain alone. The Gospel of the Lord. In the summer of 2018, a group of 12 curious boys, ages 11 to 16, wandered into a gigantic cave in Thailand after soccer practice. While they were exploring, heavy rainfall started flooding the cave, blocking their exit. Unable to swim, the boys were forced to retreat deeper and deeper into the cave until they found themselves stuck in a dark maze 2.5 miles away from their exit. A week passed by. Chances of their survival were slipping by the hour. Finally, a burst of light came out of the watery tomb beneath their feet as 2 British divers emerged and miraculously found them. Still, their survival was not guaranteed. Although these world-class divers were able to navigate the dark, craggy tunnels, experts agreed that pulling the boys out of the cave would be nearly impossible. Their story went viral. Volunteers from around the world arrived on site saying, "I'm an extra diver, I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer. I cannot save those boys alone, but I can be part of the solution." After 3 treacherous weeks, all 12 boys were rescued, concluding a story of remarkable endurance, teamwork, and triumph. That moment reminded the world that when we work together, nearly anything is possible. Something similar is happening in today's gospel. For the last 9 miles, thousands of people have been following Jesus. They've listened to his teachings, witnessed his miracles, and are mesmerized by his power. But now they're hungry and far from home. When the Lord asks his disciples, "What do you have?" all they come up with is the contents of a boy's lunchbox, 5 loaves and 2 fish, enough for the disciples, perhaps, but the rest of the crowd. "Dismiss them," they say selfishly to Jesus. "Let them fend for themselves." "No, have the people recline," the Lord insists. Somehow everyone is fed. In fact, there was so much left over that 12 wicker baskets were filled, far more than the 5 loaves and 2 fish they began with. How did Jesus do it? How did he turn a small meal into a buffet large enough to feed thousands? The Gospel does not tell us how it happened, only that everyone ate and was satisfied. While Jesus could have miraculously multiplied the fish and bread himself, he did greater miracles than this. Some have suggested that he might have done it another way. Instead of just doing it himself, Perhaps the Lord inspired his neighbors to see themselves as part of the solution. Wouldn't that be an even greater miracle, a moral miracle, convincing thousands of people to solve this problem of communal hunger together? Jesus knew some had fish and bread stuffed inside their pockets. Think of that little boy. It's these, the ones with extra, whom the Lord is targeting. As the Gospel says, he takes the boy's dinner, gives thanks, and begins sharing it with others. And so the multiplication of the loaves begins. Imagine a wave of empathy moving throughout the crowd as people realize that they too can share whatever they have, becoming part of the solution. Before sunset, stomachs are filled and hearts are transformed. This would be the greatest miracle of all: teamwork. Similar dynamics unfolded in Thailand just a few years ago. Think of all the divers, doctors, and engineers who risked their lives in order to save those desperate boys. Extracting them from the maze of the dark, flooded tunnels seemed highly unlikely, but teamwork made the impossible possible. Each person gave what they had, 5 loaves and 2 fish. Suddenly a miracle unfolded before the world's eyes. The same lesson could be applied to a variety of problems across the globe, including hunger, poverty, war, and the often elusive search for peace. As the old saying goes, teamwork makes the dream work. It's also true in our parish. Together we can continue transforming hearts and minds until everyone we know loves and serves the Lord. So what are my 5 loaves and 2 fish? How do I see myself as part of the solution? Whether that involves sharing the gospel with others, contributing to peace in society, or helping to solve other challenges we face. Teamwork does make the dream work. It helped feed a hungry crowd of thousands. It saved the lives of 12 boys in Thailand, and it will continue making the impossible possible in our world today.